What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Now, I have become very aware that there are people who listen to me, right? Who look up to me or look up to some of the stuff that I say, or they admire me, for what I'm doing. And I noticed that my subscriber base is growing, and I know because I look at my analytics, I know that my subscribers are the kind that actually think, right? Because the way I built my channel is I didn't follow an algorithm. I didn't follow any trends. So anybody that watches me, that subscribes to me, more than likely, they resonate with me because I'm saying the same stuff that they're already saying. I believe I represent the normal African-American man that works hard, that actually thinks before he takes action, like the responsible black man. I feel like I represent that. Nothing more. And that's why I think people resonate with me, because I'm saying what people say in real life, right? It's just that a lot of people can't say it out loud because they got jobs that could be affected, and we all got bills to pay, right? And then I'm also aware that there's some younger people watching me that possibly are inspired by my words, so I have to be responsible for the things that I say. So I was like, okay, well, and I get emails to this effect. So I decided to take advantage of my opportunities and the privilege to be considered somebody to be considered as a thought leader, or somebody to be considered to be admired or listened to or followed in any sense. So I'm humbled because of that, right? But I just said, since I have that privilege, let me pass along some wisdom or guidance, for free, that maybe somebody could use, And I know that other people, when I say this, they're going to understand what I'm saying, right? But I figured, why not pass it along? If I believe it's a good piece of advice, then, why not pass it to somebody who may possibly need it, okay? So if anybody been paying attention to me in any amount of time, y'all know that I can be very passionate and very emotional, when it comes to certain things, but then I can also be very measured and unbiased and stonewalled in others, right? That's because I have mastered something that I believe all of us should be working on mastering, and that's control of oneself, right? Now, before we get started, I want to do this small experiment, right? So we can find who oneself is real quick. This works, right? All right. I want everybody, if you're watching this and you're not being distracted or anything like that, I want everybody to be quiet for 10 seconds and look at me for 10 seconds. Okay, that was 10 seconds. Now, if you were quiet and there's no one around you and you looked at me for 10 seconds, you know that motherfucker you was just talking to in your head, right? Asking what the hell is this dude doing? That guy, the one, when everything was quiet, the one you were talking to, right? That you don't admit to anybody else that you was just talking to. That guy, that one you was talking to, that's yourself. Okay? Now, we as spiritual beings on this planet, right? We come down here and we have these units, we have these temples that we call bodies, that allows us to experience the few senses, right? And the few vibrations that make this reality, right? And we're supposed to be here and we're supposed to be enjoying duality, enjoying, life, and having rules and having freedoms, and just, your interaction with other people, right? And the one thing for a fact is that outside of your senses, your soul can't see. It can't see. It needs your senses to give it data in order for it to see and react to the things that's happening outside of the world, right? So yourself, that person that you talk to in your head, that voice in your head, that's you, right? That is who you are, right? And that's the thing you need to learn to control. Because what ends up happening is the unit that you're in. The body and its senses experience outside world, and when you gather that data, you, that person inside, are one who have to make the decision of how they react. And a lot of our African brothers and sisters, they let the man inside their head, the woman inside their head react because of the outside world. Let them react, and when they do, they ruin their lives, right? Because they react when they don't have to. The truth is, you don't actually have to react to anything as long as it's not causing you physical harm, right? So a lot of our brothers and sisters, they get mad and they get upset because there's something from the outside that's poking one of their emotions, that's poking one of their senses to get them to react in a certain way. The point of it is to get you to react. You understand? If you don't react, that means what they did to you don't work, right? So if somebody's doing something to provoke you, if somebody's doing something to piss you off, if all that data coming in says that it's not going to physically harm you, right? Nothing that's coming out of that person's mouth is going to physically harm me. You don't have to react, because the spirit, right, that you have inside of you is blind. It only gets data from all the senses. It can't see anything. What you give it is what it reacts off of. And if you can't see the difference between how you feel about something, right, and how you actually how you express that in the real world, you will see that you give other people power over you when they can say something to you, right, and make you react in a certain way that's not beneficial to you, right? That's why people try to piss you off. If they piss you off, that means you're not concentrating, because you're letting yourself your actions be dictated based off what somebody's saying, how somebody's poking your senses, right? If you can get control and tell yourself, okay, I'm mad. This guy poked a certain number of my senses in my head. I'm upset. Now, if you think that this guy inside, the spirit of yours, is upset, is been mentally affected by words, didn't physically hurt your body, you are not in any mortal danger, but those words went inside my head and they were meant to disrupt me. Those words were meant to hurt me, were meant to cause me to react. You need to think, how does that person want me to react? What is that person trying to do? This is where you start to think. You start to have that conversation with yourself, right? But this time you start to have constructive conversations with yourself and not just let yourself go off on a tangent, right? You process the feeling in your head. You say, oh, this person probably wants me to react in a physical way, maybe in order to get me to get myself in physical trouble. Or maybe this person wants to see me upset, because by doing that, it will satisfy them to give them confirmation that they hurt me. Or maybe this person wants me to react negatively about somebody else. That's why they're purposely telling me this information, triggering me in order for me to go do this. Now you ask yourself, if I go do this, what are the consequences of those actions? We have to start thinking about the consequences of the actions that we make when we allow the blind side, our blind spirit, to react based off what the physical world is trying to, give to us. What the physical world is telling us, the data that we're receiving, right? So a lot of our boys, they get upset because somebody says something to them, right? So then they go out and they manifest something negative in reaction to that. Or a lot of our women, right? They say something, they may have heard something negative, so they go out because they're emotional creatures. It's going to be harder for females to use this because females are emotional creatures. They doing more of this up here. They're in more communication with their spirit than most of us, right? Sometimes we call that, being overly emotional, but we live in an emotional spectrum. Like in real life, like everything is vibrations, everything is emotional spectrum, light things. We're very limited in what we can see even with our own senses. There's more to this world than what we can see. It's just that we don't quite understand all of it yet, because we're, as learning creatures, we're still learning about this environment, right? And we used to just make things up because we don't know, the God in the gap. So we fill in the gaps with God. So if we don't understand it, we say God did it, right? When there's probably a scientific explanation that we just are not intelligent enough to figure out at the moment, right? And and just because you use science doesn't take away from God, because God obviously will have created science. Science is just the study of nature. That's all it is, right? How does it work? What is our place in it, right? We all agree that spirit is real. Whether you a Christian, Muslim, whatever you is, we believe spirit is real. We all do understand that we all are electric. We're all light. We're all made of light. That is a fact, backed by science, right? We all realize that light is energy, and energy cannot be destroyed. It's always there. So we know we're always there, right? And we know that women are birth us from a different dimension, and we come here, experience this, and we go back to where we come from. We know. We just don't quite know exactly what it looks like, because we weren't meant to know, because that's how the system is designed, right? We have to do the hard work. If it was just given to us, there would be no point to be down here, because we would know already, right? So all we have to do is to control your life and not let people, control you, is to, anytime you start talking to that man up there, that woman up there, that spirit, anytime you start talking to it, or you see it start talking to you, right? And sometimes, if you notice, you be talking to somebody else, and that's more than likely your higher self. The higher self of you that knows more, but you just can't know right now because you're in the game, right? You may be talking to a spirit guide or something like that, an old relative. You may be talking to your grandma. You may be talking to your best friend who died a while ago. You don't know who that is, but that intuition that you have is usually somebody who cares and loves you, and usually telling you the right thing. Sometimes we call it is in our gut. Sometimes we say, something just told me not to. Sometimes that's something that just told you not to, or something that told you don't go that way, or something told you don't do this. That something is somebody who loves you, who's telling you, in a way that you can't understand, because we're here. We just ain't figured it out yet. But you should probably believe in that, because scientific studies, you can look this up, has said that people who react off their gut 90 to 80% of the time, they're right. You can look that up. I don't know how you look that up. I could look it up. ChatGPT, ask it. You will see that people who utilize their gut and their intuition are usually right. Right? That's why your first answer is usually right. Like, if you learn in school, when they ask you a question, right? If you have a first answer, then you start to doubt yourself. Then you have a second answer, and that second answer tends to be wrong because you doubted yourself. But that first answer was with your gut, through your intuition, through the raw data coming through your head, right? So sometimes y'all know when y'all get mad, or somebody's going to make you do something you don't want to do, right? Something piss you off, you get depressed. That little man up there, that little woman up there is telling you to calm down, right? You're going to be okay. It's a terrible situation, but you're going to live to see another day. You're not in physical harm. Don't overreact. Stay here, meditate, calm down, lower your blood pressure, lower yourself. Don't do anything that'll get you in jail. Don't hurt nobody. That thing that's talking to you, you got to listen to it. And give that more respect than you give the data you're receiving from the outside world. Or when somebody else is trying to piss you off, or trying to gaslight you, or trying to get you to react emotionally. Because once you got somebody reacting emotionally, you got them. Because they're not going to act irrational. You understand? So this is just a little advice for anybody listening to me. Practice talking to that one up there that's in your head, and all the friends that come along with it that give you that good advice, right? Have that conversation with yourself, with your spirit guide, with your higher self, and make a better decision. And you can use this throughout your life. And when you're doing this, if you notice the people that do this, right? I'm gonna give y'all a secret. The people that have mastered their emotions, right? Sometimes they go to the dark side and they manipulate people, right? These are where a lot of your grifters, a lot of your sales persons, a lot of your recruiters, a lot of your actors, they've all mastered this, right? Some people, they use it for bad and they use it for monetary gain because they can read people very well and they know how to say what to say, how to press a button to make a thing do a thing, right? Right? But then you'll see others, they'll do it and they have a straight face, because once that little person in your head, right? Even though that person in your head is upset or is happy, that doesn't mean you have to actually display it on your face, which is the window, your eyes window to that soul, right? That's why people wear sunglasses that dark. You can't see their eyes, because your true self is inside, none of this. Your true self is inside, right? So test that out, try it, master it. That's the only thing you need to master. If you could master that guy you was talking to, you could do anything you want. No matter how frustrating it is, you can go take a test that you told yourself that you thought was so difficult, but in actuality, it's just as simple as finding the data, reading the data, understanding the data, then regurgitating it the best way you can. That's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And you can do it if you tell yourself you can do it. That's why if you believe everything is bad, everything's going to be bad. If you believe everything is going to be good, everything's going to be good. in general, right? Because, you know, in the real world, you know, we don't live in a utopia. Everything is complicated, right? But the life you carve out within that chaos is the goal, and the beautiful things you find in between the chaos and the terrible things that happen on your while you're here on the experience. This is the point. How do you overcome adversity? Adversity. You know, how do you overcome trauma? How do you overcome these negative feelings? How do you overcome positive feelings that's overwhelming? How do you overcome difficult relationships? How do you overcome being alone? How do you overcome being in love? How do you overcome having your heart broken? These are the things of life that we all are experiencing at different points and different times. And we're supposed to figure out how do we handle those things, you know, with ourselves. So, you know, it's all about the choices that we make. All right. So anyway, I hope this advice can help some people. You know, since I got the ear of so many people, I figured this would be some good advice. You tell me what you guys think in the comments section. This is Afro Think Tank. Learn some, teach some. I'm out.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such an extent that you bleach? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.